Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We had quite a lot of opportunities last week. I took a loss and a break even and I missed 3 trades. If you want to have a more detailed look to these opportunities, the link is in the description to my trading journal as well as to the missed opportunities. We start now on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we had not too much progression last week. We are still in the area what we were expecting for price to remain a bit, accumulate more volume before we see the next move. We do see that we have a second week with a low test candle. It's a bullish low test candle this time. This could be a potential turnaround. We are still sitting on the low here, but if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that price is still respecting the structure. We were looking at this potential 1, 2, 3 bear flag continuation here with this small liquidity point just above, and we can see we actually finished this 1, 2, 3 and are just sitting on top of the third touch. It does not really look like price is slowing down right now, so I would not be surprised if we tag this high here and then we might see a turnaround for the next bigger move to the downside. I'm leaning more towards the short continuation right now. As long as we are within this area, I would change my bias if we see a sudden more impulsive move outside above this high and then followed by a bullish continuation. Then I would change my bias, but at the moment it's still according to plan, also what we were expecting last week already. Moving on to euro US dollar, and we can see here on the weekly time frame a very similar picture. Of course, we have here 2 bullish high tests and a bearish high test. We finished the week as a bearish high test, so into this more significant area of interest to the left, what we discussed last week already. So we are actually prime. If you look at that, we are prime position for a sell, but we are still within an area where a long continuation would also make sense. Going down to the daily time frame, we can also see that we don't have too much impulsive progression here. So it's a bit, price is still a bit stalling. Looking on the 4-hour time frame, we have 2 potential areas of interest here. We have here the start of the running channel and this base actually, and we have here a potential 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which we already finished now, which then would be a nice higher time frame, actually a 4-hour time frame, quite a weighted time frame for a bull flag continuation pattern. So the long is still in play. We can also see we had kind of a washout, but the week is not more than 50% outside or below the low here. So it seems like we will fill this week again. Going down to the 1-hour time frame, we can also see here we had some structures in here. We had a a bear flag continuation here, but it failed to really push price outside this low here, and we are now just stalling. So if the DXY is tickling up a little bit more, then we might see the same here, just tickling a little bit more down before we then see an impulsive move back in, and then followed by a bull flag continuation on the lower time frame. I would take a 15-minute bull flag continuation if I see a nice, strong, impulsive move back inside the structure for then a long continuation. That would then mean that the DXY would sell off. But well and truly, to really look for short continuations, I would like to see price break this low here as well, and then starting to form a bear flag continuation really outside this whole a bit more messy price action up here. And if we then see a bear flag continuation potentially retesting this low here, then we could actually mimic this run here to the upside, also here to the downside. So that would then be prime for a short continuation. But as it stands right now with the overall positioning, the long is still in place for next week. New Zealand dollar, US dollar on the weekly time frame, we can see we finished the structure We had a bearish high test candle just into the high here. We can see that more clear on the 4-hour time frame. That's actually the structure we were looking at last week. We were expecting for price to evolve, to finish this evolving structure here with the 1, 2, 3 into the start of this running channel, and then we saw the turnaround just around here. Then again, we had a nice initial move, an initial sell-off, and then a V-shaped recovery back up, and now a very nice impulsive move to the downside. What I'm looking for right now, we can also see here, we still have this gap here to the low, to the higher time frame value area. So this looks definitely more like bearish price action for me right now at the moment. So I'm looking for price to form a bit more structure, because you can also see here we have nothing on the left here until this bigger inflection point here. So there's still enough room to go. I'm looking now for price to form a bigger, come back up one more time, and then form a kind of a two-touch continuation with the proper two bases, retesting this low. That would be perfect. That would be very deliberate price action for then a sell. And this would also be more or less around 50% retrace. Yeah, it's actually on the dot, the 50% retrace from this impulsive move. So this overall, even in proportions, that would make sense. Pound US dollar, on the weekly time frame, we had again also we had one high test, a bearish high test candle into this high here to the left. We can see that on the daily. This was actually also, we discussed that last week, why this point here is a bit more important than the ones on top, and we just barely tapped that. We are now on the 4-hour time frame, and we can see we had some structure here. So we were discussing multiple options, something like that into the high, a 1, 2, 3. Instead, price lost a bit momentum. You can see that here, and then finished with a 1, 2, 3, just into the high to the left, and then started to sell off. It's a bit more impulsive here. We have this as a potential base, because here we had already a double bottom. So price does not necessarily have to come back all the way down here. And we also had this washout here, like on the euro US dollar. So right now here as well, we are still prime position for a long continuation. So I would like to see for price to maybe fill the wick again and come back up into the structure, and then followed by a lower time frame bull flag continuation. And I would happily entertain a long in this area. We can see that also here on the 1-hour time frame, we actually did that already. So we had this washout here, a retrace candle, and we are now stalling a bit. But I would not entertain a bull flag here, because it's just like it's on top of the base. So I would like to see for price to move a bit higher, even when we clear this high here, and then followed by a continuation. That would be way better and way lower risk than taking the long down here. We would then also break out this squeeze here, this descending wedge. On the other hand, same like in euro US dollar, we have to clear this whole price action here before I would entertain then a short. So if we see an impulsive move to the downside and then followed by a bigger structure, even if it's through price here, I would entertain a short in this area. But I'd like to see that we really know the long failed and we cleared the majority of this structure before I then would entertain a short. US dollar Swiss francs on the weekly time frame, we are stalling a bit. We have also a second week with quite a strong wick. Still, we closed it bearish and we still have a gap to the left here. On the daily time frame, excuse me, we had a bit of squeeze here on top, and then we had more momentum more bearish impulsive progression here towards the low, but we did not reach the lows yet. On the 1 hour time frame, there were actually quite nice trades in here last week. There is a miss trade for me as well. So we had initially the structure here. That's the one before, we discussed that also shortly. Then we had this squeeze here, and we were retesting this low to the left. Then we had the first impulse, a small correction, and here was a very nice 1 hour flat flag here for a short trade into the low. And we are now stalling. So I'm looking for more of a bigger structure. Going back to the 4 hour time frame, that would also make sense in terms of where we are. So if we get something like that for price to go back one more time, because we can see now it's more bullish momentum. So we actually tapped the structure low here. Then we came down here after retesting the low, right? So we broke out this squeeze. Then we failed to sell off in this area here on the low. Instead, we went up, we came back one more time. We failed to sell here again. We actually created a double bottom here. And then we moved up impulsively. So this for me looks more like a bullish momentum right now. And this is also a potential bull flag continuation. So I would look here. Actually, I would go down to the 1 hour time frame. And here we can see it way better. We can see we have here a bullish continuation pattern. I would even entertain in this area on the 15 minutes time frame. We can see we have a very small liquidity area here. We left the gap here and we are now going up for the second high. If we come back one more time, preferably a 3 touch like this would probably be okay to enter along in this area. It depends how strong of a candlestick reversal we get. I might entertain a long trade in this area here just to finish the structure, the overall structure, and then this would still be already enough room to warrant a trade, to secure a trade if then price turns around. And if we see the DXY is going higher, then yeah, we might see US dollar Swiss francs progressing higher as well, considering the SNB was cutting rates last week as well. So Euro Australian dollar on the weekly time frame, we are still in a bullish momentum run, and we still are positioned for more bullish continuation. And we can see even after this very, very strong high test here the previous week, we ended the week still bullish. And going down to the 4 hour time frame, we can see we are actually really forming a bigger structure. We have a clear base here, we have a second touch, and it's not really progressive price action. We can see here this was a bit more impulsive, and here we are just like, that's more of a corrective squeeze back up, and that does not really look like that's something that would break up to the upside, break out to the upside. So this for me looks more like a bit more of a squeeze, which could then lead to the second top for the third bottom and the bull flag continuation. So there might be some potential short-term trades in between, because this is a 4 hour range. So the moves are still fairly large. So we have here, we're talking of about like 1+%. So if price is just tickling slowly up into this area and then followed by lower time frame bear flag continuations, I would entertain a short trade just into these lows here before we then entertain a higher time frame long play again. So this might be interesting. It's positioned fairly well for some lower time frame short trades and into a higher time frame long trade. Euro pound on the weekly time frame, we still have the gap here to the low. We were discussing that on and off. So we failed. After this, we had a potential bull run, but then we failed. We just tapped into this high here, which was kind of a V shape and then we came back down, but we did not even reach the previous lows here, then have an impulsive run to the upside, and now I'm looking for a bigger structure. This could make sense because we see that fairly often. This is all corrective price action here. And keep in mind, we are on the weekly time frame here, right? So this is kind of a running channel. And we see often before a running channel drops out that we have clear structure. So the last structure is very, very clear, which is then also leading the way for the next bigger move. So that from the proportion that would make sense. And on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we had a very nice impulsive run to the upside, and we now started to form a 1, 2, 3. We have a 1, 2, 3 bull flag continuation into the low. We had a washout, and we have a clear change in momentum, and then price started to stall. On the 1-hour time frame, we can see this is not really the type of price action we want to see after such a nice impulse back into the structure, but it's Friday evening, it's the last few hours of the week, so I would like to see for price to actually break these highs here, this small continuation here to the left. It's a small continuation pattern, consolidation here, and if price then breaks above and gives a lower time frame bull flag continuation, then I would definitely entertain a long, because we have more than enough room to finish this run here for a potential bigger expanding structure before we then see some potential turnaround. That's the high here to the left has to be considered, so we might see some reaction a bit earlier, but that again is more than enough room. If we just check the area, yeah, the area is around 80 plus pips. So yeah, just we let price show its hands first. Euro yen on the weekly time frame, we finished the structure, had a washout, and we finished with the bearish high test into this area of interest to the left. We see it clearer on the 4-hour time frame. We had this structure, we finished that actually earlier with the 1, 2, 3, then we failed to sell, to continue the sell. Instead we went back up into the next high to trigger a bit more volume. Obviously this was not enough volume. We did also not tap anything significant here to the left, so that was kind of an indication that price could go back up one more time and tap a more significant high, which it then did, and then it started to fairly impulsively sell off. And I'm now looking for a continuation, because like where we are positioned here right now, there's nothing really to worry to the left. So the next one is here, that's a bigger inflection point, and then the next one here, the beginning of this structure. And on the 1-hour time frame, yeah, we can see it very clearly. This is a minor inflection point, and we are also in the middle of the structure. So what I'm looking for right now is we have a second base here, and I'd like to see a third touch into this small liquidity area here to the left. That would also be more or less 50% of since the high. So yeah, we are still a bit below the 50% from the high as a retrace. So this would be a healthy retrace and would still be actually prime position for a short continuation. Australian dollar yen looks very similar on the weekly time frame. We had 2 more bullish weeks, now 1 more bearish week, clearing out a more significant area of interest on the higher time frame here on the daily. We can see that, and we also finished on the 4-hour time frame. We finished the structure very, very clean. We had a 1, 2, 3 expanding structure into this area of interest, and then a very aggressive sell-off, and we are now in a bigger consolidation. So it's quite clear here, also nothing to worry on the left until we see this bigger inflection point here and then the lows of the structure. So I'm looking for price to come back one more time, finish a 1, 2, 3 bear flag continuation, and I would then entertain a short from this area. Australian dollar Swiss francs, now it's a bit more complicated on the weekly time frame. We can see we are still positioned where a short would make sense. We have still this wick to fill and the gap to the higher time frame low. We have a very bearish engulfing week here. We closed with a very strong, almost full body. On the daily time frame, we can see we have we just tapped. Actually, it's clear on the 1 hour time frame. We just tapped this small area of interest here to the left and then started to sell off. And we had quite nice structure plays here. So we had the initial impulsive sell-off, then we had the first continuation, another followed by a sell-off. We left the gap here, came back up one more time, had a V-shaped recovery, very nice, sold off again, then tapped into the low multiple times, but failed to sell off, and then created this bear flag continuation, and then finally sold off again and broke the low actually. But then again, so overall in the higher time frame, what we saw now, we are in a bearish sequence, right? But we actually also did enough, and this one is more like a bullish reversal. So if you look on the one hour here, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 1 hour candles which failed to connect. The fourth is actually a full body candle back into structure above the high and is now forming a bull flag continuation here. So I would definitely not entertain a bull flag continuation here just on the low. But you can see if you have a bit more risk appetite, this could be a lower time frame long trade, but for me, I'm leaning more, my bias is definitely more the bearish sequence, so therefore I'm looking for a bigger structure here. I'd like to see price forming a new low here, coming back one more time and then creating something like that, a clearer, at least 1 hour structure, which then is very deliberate price action to then entertain a short continuation. Pound Australian dollar, the last one. On the weekly time frame, we can see we are also still positioned fairly well for both directions. So we still have room to the upside into the next high. And we had this bearish high test the week before, but we closed it with a strong bullish week now. Going down to the 4 hour time frame, we can also see we had everything for a potential sell-off. We tapped into the high in form of a structure. We had a 1, 2, 3 structure into the high, the first more or less significant high. Then price stalled here. Actually, price stalled multiple times. So it stalled here with a smaller double top, then a triple top here, then started to sell off, but failed to connect. So it failed to continue. Instead, it came back up one more time in form of a V shape, a bigger V shape here, tapped the high. And then again, usually if you see V shapes, then they tend to tap the high and then sell a bit more aggressive. So it looked good, the first two candles, and then we saw immediately price started to stall. Going down to the 1 hour time frame. So, and it looks now, again here, we tapped the high, we had an impulse, we had the first continuation pattern, and then just price stopped. It came back up again and lost a bit momentum. So I'm looking for here more, I'd like to see a bullish continuation actually. This is a nice space here. So if we see, this could actually already be the second high. If we see price coming back one more time and then forming this one as a base already, a 1, 2, 3 on the 1 hour time frame, then I'm happy to entertain a long in this area and just go for the next move to the upside, because this overall price action, even positioned well for a sell, does not look like we sell off right now. So that's it. That's the watch list for next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.